Oh, our conversations about Ripple IPOing, going public, taking their company into the public realm to be traded publicly, has got the attention of everyone, including the one and only Jeremy Hogan. I made a video just a few days ago about all of the strategic hires that Ripple are making that make me think that an IPO is coming soon. Certain hires that you make within your team are only useful for going public. So that to me showed a massive sign. But many speculations were made in that video, like where are they going to go public? Are they going to go public soon? Is that certainty? And while Jeremy Hogan did repost my video on that topic, he later tweeted again to say he had it confirmed by a friend who is close to Ripple that they have no intention of going public anytime soon. And I kind of want to pick that apart a little bit and then talk about the question that naturally follows after. If you enjoy these videos, make sure you're subscribing. We're on track to get 100,000 subscribers, which I never thought would happen. But here we are, so close. If you can help me make that happen, I'd be greatly appreciative. So while at this time, Jeremy wasn't able, and this is obvious because it's a friend and he's not going to out his friend, wasn't able to show any of the reasons why Ripple wouldn't be going public in the short term. And I can think of one very obvious one that I think makes a lot of sense. In order to go public in the US, Ripple has to file an S1 with none other than the SEC. Now, the SEC are not very good friends with Ripple right now, but that makes it very difficult to go public in the USA. But if I was to create a counter argument to what Jeremy said in that tweet, it is, well, maybe they have no intention of going public in the US. All the moves they're making up to this point seem to be leaning towards, mergers and acquisitions, hiring the right people for going public. Maybe they're just not considering going public in the US. I don't know. I don't have my ear to the ground on this inner workings of Ripple. If I did, I would love that, but I don't. So all of this is speculation, and you're free to go and do your own research and come to your own conclusions. But what I came to discover after many of these conversations over time about IPOs is that an IPO, initial product offering, is only one of the ways that a company goes public. And there are actually four. There are 4 ways a company actually goes public, and I'm going to talk about all 4 of those in this video. So the first way is what I've been saying this whole time, an IPO, an initial product offering. Now, for everyone who holds pre-IPO shares, when an IPO happens, there is something called a lockup period. And that lockup period typically ranges between 90 and 180 days after the IPO. During this time, you cannot sell your shares, your Ripple shares, onto the market for that whole lockup period. And while you might kind of look at that and think, well, that's really restrictive, I don't like not having that flexibility. But it's actually designed that way so that it creates a stability when the company goes public. Because as you'll see in the way that Coinbase went public, which we'll talk about right at the end of the video, the way they did it really fluctuated the price of the asset. But a through and through IPO with a lockup period doesn't do that. Or at least it limits that behavior for 3 to 6 months after they go public. Now, we're about to get into some crazy terminology here, and I'm not sure I fully understand it, so I really appreciate any of you guys who really do understand what I'm about to say to let us know in the comments. And if you're watching and you don't understand and you want to learn more, take a look into the comments and see all of these smart people talk about what I'm about to talk about in more detail in the comments. And if you've got a favorite comment in there that was the most helpful, click like on it, and the one with the most likes on this video, I will pin to the top of the comment section. So the next one is called a SPAC. Yeah, it's a funny name, but it's actually a special purpose acquisition company. And basically, the way I understand it is that you have a company and Ripple merges with this company, but this company is already public. So when Ripple merges with that company, Ripple automatically is now public, right? So if you hold pre-IPO shares at Ripple and Ripple joins a SPAC, there may be lockup periods within that contract. You have to just see how that merger goes. But I can't even think of a company or a business or an entity that would even be able to buy Ripple. Maybe the WEF. I joke, but seriously. So you can go public. Ripple could go public with kind of just bypassing the SEC bypassing that kind of S1 by just merging with a company that's already public, and that company would be a SPAC. Then thirdly, there's something called an APO, and that's an alternative public offering. Now, this is where it gets really complicated because I really don't understand this. So please, if someone can help me out with APOs in the comments, that would be appreciated. Doing an APO can often include reverse mergers. I don't understand. Help me. How can you have a reverse merger in order to go public? It seems to be a very complex process, but if you hold pre-IPO shares, these can sometimes be instantaneously, your pre-IPO shares can be instantaneously liquidated. But again, it's all up to the agreement that's made in that reverse merger. Fascinating, but I have no idea what that is. And then finally, the last one, let's get into something I do know and have experienced before. and you have too if you were around in 2020 or 2021. When Coinbase went public, they went public with what's called a direct listing. And this is essentially like cutting out the middleman of going public. You're just going public immediately with your shares immediately able to be bought and sold from that moment. So right out the gate, you can sell those shares, right? And so what we saw when Coinbase went public is that they really marked the absolute peak of that bull run, or if you call it a retracement, whatever you call it. At that moment, the market has only gone down. So it was a historical news event that we never could really breach past. Now, as the market continued to go down, the share price of Coinbase also continued to go down. Now, I made an article about this, a little research piece in the 1% Mastermind, talking about the behaviors of all of the companies, the biggest companies in the world, the way their price has behaved over the first 7 weeks of going public. Interestingly, this direct listing from Coinbase was one of the only ones where the price went down significantly as a result. So I think Ripple going public using a direct listing is a really risky way of doing it. And if they did say we're going to do a direct listing and it's going to be on this date, I would put the safety rails up and say, last time this happened and last time something this big happened in crypto with regards to a direct listing, it was the end of the run that we were in. So I would be putting up those kind of rails there and saying, oh, I don't know about this. This seems to be a big news event that would mark the top. And you might want to use that to take action on your portfolio. Alternatively, it might not act like last time with Coinbase, and it could just skyrocket to its true fair market value, right? And so we have no idea how that's going to go. But I urge you to look historically at what direct listings have done. And if there is volatility, and which there likely is in direct listings, and if your risk tolerance is low, that might be a great opportunity to be taking some profits or moving some assets around. Which method do I think is going to be optimal for Ripple going public? Regardless of whether they are going public in the near future or whether it's in New York or whether it's in London or Dubai. If you watched the video just yesterday talking about Dubai, basically approving XRP, incredible. Please go and watch that video. You can click the I in the top right of this video to go and watch that. Regardless of the location and the time in which they're going to do this, I think the most important way or the most impactful way for pre-IPO Ripple shareholders for Ripple to go public is an IPO with a lockup period. Now, I'm actually going to say the lockup period should probably be as long as it possibly can be. That's going to be painful for us to hear, because if you hold Ripple pre-IPO, you want to see that money as quickly as possible. Now, the big question for me is, and this is one that we talk about in the mastermind quite a lot, is if you have pre-IPO shares and now they turn into just normal shares because Ripple have had an IPO, but you're still in that lockup period, are you then able to collateralize the value of your shares and take out loans and use those loans to buy cash flowing assets that pay off the loan? And then when the loan is paid off, you still have those assets generating cash flow. Are you able to do that in a lockup period? That's a big question, and maybe that's one we're going to look at later. Overall, I think an IPO for Ripple with a long lockup period is the most ideal thing we can look for if you are just interested in Ripple and the success of Ripple and the success of XRP by extension. But that's just me. That's just my thought process. If you've got anything to add or any knowledge to provide about all the ways to go public for a company, make sure you're putting it in the comments. The most highly voted comment will be pinned to the top of the comment section for everyone else to see. At the end of this video, we're now going to talk about the 1% Mastermind, as I alluded to earlier. So if you'd like to know what's going on in the 1% Mastermind, stay to watch all the way through to the end. But from me, for now, stay emotionless, and I'll see you in the next one.
Over the last 6 months, things have started to shift. And by a shift, I mean, over the last 6 months, more people who meet that high net worth individual status have been contacting, asking me if I can facilitate large crypto purchases, connect them with people in private equity. And I've found, quite frankly, that I've been quite good at that. And as time has gone on, I've really realized that I can connect people with some fantastic deals, great investment opportunities, and provide solutions for people at that level that you've probably never thought of. I acknowledge that not everyone is a high net worth individual, at least yet. And so that's exactly why I've created the 1% Mastermind. Over the last 2 years of making content, I've seen one of the biggest demands and needs of the audience is to have a list of professionals that you can contact when this whole thing takes off. When all the money comes in, our portfolios are of high value, what now? What do we do? Who do we contact? There's also a group of individuals that want to improve and do business and network among other millionaires to be. Nobody in the digital asset space has ever seen anything like this. Wherever you are in the world, the plan of the Mastermind is to be able to connect you with professionals, not only in accounting and tax and law and estate planning, but to connect you with individuals who actually understand the assets you hold. We know about this all too well. We call an accountant and you know more about Bitcoin and XRP than they do. And it's not just a directory of professionals that we're offering here. We also have unique investment opportunities for individuals, even if you don't meet the accredited investor requirements. When you think about diversifying your assets in the long term, you might be considering real estate, venture capital, private equity. You won't need to go over here to find a deal. You won't need to go over here to find a deal. It will all be housed in that one central location, and you'll be surrounded by individuals that are on the same page as you and want the same thing, not just for themselves, but they want the same thing for you. In addition to all of that, we'll also have a library of content answering your specific questions, not made for views, not made for engagement, but made specifically to add value to the library of content that there will be. As time goes on, the price of the membership will actually go up, and likely will go up every single week from here on out. So join the 1% Mastermind today, and I'll see you in there.